Once a couple had a son after nearly 10 years of marriage. They brought him up lovingly. They fulfilled all their son's wishes. They gave him whatever he asked for. Years passed and the son grew into a young man, but he had become a spoilt brat. His father tried hard to change the habits of the son, but the son merely went around spending his father's hard-earned money. One day, his father called him and said, "Son, you've been wasting money all these years. After all, I leave all the money and property for you. But now, if you want me to do that, then you will have to prove to me that you can earn money on your own too." The young man accepted the challenge. He went to look for a job. After trying many times, he finally found a job. He was to load and unload sacks of grains from vehicles into the godowns. He worked hard, carrying the sacks on his back and on his head. At the end of the day, he got merely 20 rupees, but he was happy to get his hard-earned money. He took the 20-rupee note home and gave it to his father. His father didn't say a word. He went and threw the note in the well behind their house, though he was surprised. The young man did not protest. The next day he earned 20 rupees again and handed them over to his father. His father threw the money into the well once again. This happened every day for a week. Then one day, the son grew very angry. "Father, I work hard the whole day to earn that 20 rupees and you just throw it into the well. If only you knew how precious that money is." The young man's father smiled, patted his back and said, "Son, now do you know how I felt all these years when you wasted my hard-earned money?" The son realized his mistake and never again wasted any money. Moral: one learns the value of money only when one earns it. Sonu and Monu. Once there lived two friends, Sonu and Monu. They were very poor. They used to beg for alms. Sonu was blind, while Monu was lame. He could not walk without help. One day, Sonu heard that a large religious fair was being held in the next village. He said to Monu, "Friend, we must go to that fair. Many rich and saintly people will come there. We'll get a lot of alms. But Sonu, how can we go so far away? You are blind, so you can't see the way. I am lame, so I can't walk for such a long distance." Sonu smiled and said, "Don't be disheartened. Monu, I have found a way out. I am blind, but I can walk to cover great distances. You cannot walk as you are lame, but you can show me the way to the fair." So the two friends went to the fair together and enjoyed themselves. Moral: help others to help themselves. The cap seller's trick. One day, a cap seller was going round the village selling the caps. Soon the day grew hot. The cap seller found a shady tree on the way. He stopped and sat under the tree. He decided to take a nap. He placed his bag full of colorful caps near his head and soon fell asleep. When the cap seller was sleeping soundly, a troop of monkeys arrived under the tree. They saw the bag near the cap seller's head and opened it curiously. They saw many colorful caps. Some wore the red ones and others the yellow ones. One picked up a black printed cap. while another preferred one with orange and white embroidery. Then they ran up the tree under which the cap seller slept. A while later, the cap seller woke up. He found his bag of caps empty. He heard some noise and looked up the tree. The chattering monkeys were busy trying the caps. The cap seller grew angry and showed him his fists. The monkeys copied him. Then he stamped his feet on the ground in anger. The monkeys also stamped their feet on the branches. Now the cap seller realized that the monkeys had copied him. So, in mock anger, the cap seller took the cap from his head and threw it on the ground. The imitating monkeys copied him and did the same. The cap seller gathered all the caps in his bag and fled away. Moral: sometimes common sense gets out of trouble. The dog in the stream. One day, a kind butcher gave a large piece of bone to a hungry dog. As he was walking over the bridge, he looked into the stream. He saw a dog with a large piece of bone in his mouth. He was not aware that it was his own reflection. He thought that this is another dog with a piece of bone.
Oh, whoa, what a juicy bone this dog has! Whoa! I am so hungry! Whoa! I'll bark loudly to frighten the dog away. He'll run away, leaving the bone behind, and I'll take it for myself. Woof, woof, woof.
With such thoughts, the dog barked loudly. The piece of bone from his mouth fell into the stream, and the dog became sad and remained hungry. Moral: be contented with what you have. The golden eggs. Once a poor farmer lived in a village. He had a goose. It had a magical quality. It used to lay a golden egg every morning. Every day the farmer used to sell the golden egg in the market and get money. Soon he became a rich man. Once he had a greedy idea. He thought, I have become rich with one golden egg that the goose lays every day. It must be having a lot of them in its stomach. I'll cut open its stomach and get all the golden eggs at once. With such wicked thoughts, the farmer picked up a large knife. He cut the goose's stomach wide open, but he found no golden eggs in it. The goose had died and left the farmer feeling miserable for his evil deed. Moral: greed breeds misfortunes. The helpful dove. There once lived a dove on a tree. A fat red hen living in a nearby farmyard was the dove's best friend. They used to meet every evening to share jokes and talk about others. One day, a hungry fox entered the farmyard. She went in stealthily and caught the red hen. The fox put the hen in a sack and walked off. The hen started cackling loudly in protest. The dove, sitting on a tree branch, had seen what had happened. So she quickly thought of an idea to save her friend. The dove flew far ahead of the fox. She went and lay down on the path on which the fox was walking. She lay motionless as if she was dead. As the fox came near the dead dove, she thought, "Wow, what a lucky day it is today. I have a juicy red hen in my sack, and now I see a dead dove lying on the path. Then I'll have a very juicy, delicious lunch in the afternoon." With these thoughts, the fox put the sack down by the path. The hen realized that the fox had put down the sack and struggled to get out. The fox approached the dead dove, but just as she reached out her hands to get the dove, the dead dove flew off. The fox stepped back in surprise. Then she thought, "Let her go. I still have the hen in my sack for lunch." Then she went and hid behind a bush. The fox returned, picked up the sack and went home. At home, when she opened the sack, she was shocked to see that the hen had been turned into a large piece of stone. The dove and hen were rejoicing on the success of the dove's plan. Moral: a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. The Jamun tree. Ramu was a lazy young man. He did not do any work at all. One day, as usual, he was lazing under a tree near the field. He looked up at the tree and saw some juicy jamuns hanging from the branches. Then he looked into the field. He saw some very large pumpkins growing on creepers. He started laughing very loudly and thought to himself, "Strange is God's creation. This huge tree bears such tiny fruits, and the large pumpkins grow on thin and tender vines. What a sight!" A few minutes later, as Ramu was still lying under the tree, a ripe jamun fell on him. The jamun hit Ramu's head. Ramu sat up and said, "Oh, thank God, the pumpkins are not growing on this tree. If a pumpkin had fallen on my head instead of the jamun, I would have seen stars in the daylight." Moral: don't comment on things you know nothing about. The lamb and the wolf. Once a young lamb felt very thirsty. He went to a stream to drink water. A thirsty and hungry, evil wolf arrived at the same stream to quench his thirst. When he saw the lamb, he thought, "Oh, such a young lamb! I'll trap him in my talks and then have him for lunch." He drank from the same side where the lamb was drinking. Then, in an angry tone, the wolf growled, "You there!" The lamb looked up. The wolf said, "Oh, it can't be true. You see, the water is flowing down from your side towards me. Then how could I make dirty your water?" "Oh, you dare to argue with me? You are as rude as when I met you a month ago." "But how can that be? I am just 3 weeks old. I was not even born then." "Then it must have been your rude mother. I'll eat you up to punish her." With these words, the wolf leapt on the young lamb and ate him up. Moral: stay away from evil. The loyal servant. Once, a king became friendly with a monkey. He used to be with the king all the time. One afternoon, the king was taking a nap in his chamber. Just then, a fly came in through the open window. It buzzed round the king's bed and finally settled on the king's nose. The loyal monkey was sitting at the king's bedside as a bodyguard. When he saw the fly, he waved it away with his hand. The fly flew off and came back to sit on the king's nose once again. Now the monkey used his handkerchief to wave it away. The third time, the fly came back on the king's nose. The monkey grew very angry. He pulled out his sword and struck at the disturbing fly. The swift fly flew off again. The king woke up, yelling in pain. Moral: everyone cannot do every task. The race. Once a hare and a tortoise got into an argument about their speeds. The hare challenged the tortoise that whatever may happen, but the fast hare would always win the race. But the tortoise did not agree. So to prove that the hare was faster than the slow-moving tortoise, a race was held. On the appointed day, the animals of the forest gathered at the starting and finish points of the race. The lion was to be the judge. Soon the giraffe blew the whistle and the race began. The fast-hopping hare ran off at great speed. The slow tortoise had barely taken a step by then. Soon the hare got near a tree from where he could see the finishing line. He was tired after the run, so he thought, as soon as I see him here, I'll just run and reach the finishing line. With these thoughts, the hare fell asleep. The slow tortoise kept crawling, never waiting to rest. Walking slowly and continuously, he soon reached the finishing line. The amazed forest animals clapped and shouted in joy. The hare heard the noise and woke up. He was shocked to see the tortoise at the finishing line. The lion was crowning him as the winner. Moral: slow and steady wins the race. The sage's parrot. One day a traveler was passing through a jungle. He felt very tired. He decided to rest a while under a peepal tree. Soon he got a shady tree and settled under it for a nap.
I'll get you. Just wait. I'll kill you or catch you for sure.
He saw a parrot in the leafy branches of the tree. The parrot screeched again. He saw another shady tree and sat down to rest. "Welcome, sir. Will you have some water or fruits? Please relax," a sweet voice greeted the traveler. As the traveler looked to find the source of the voice, he saw another parrot. It was almost exactly like the parrot he had seen before. Suddenly the parrot took flight. The traveler was surprised. He decided to follow the flying parrot. The parrot flew on and the traveler followed it. A few minutes later, the parrot flew into a huge ashram. The traveler entered the hut in the ashram. A sage sat there in deep meditation. "Welcome, sir. Will you have some water or fruits? Please relax," the parrot repeated once more. At the parrot's voice, the sage opened his eyes. "Yes, what can I do for you?" The sage addressed the traveler. "Will you clear this confusion I have?" The sage smiled and said, "A she-parrot had given birth to 2 young ones. One of the young parrots was caught by a hunter. The other young parrot fell down from the tree. It was injured. I brought it up in my ashram. It has grown up hearing my pupils polite words, so it merely repeats that, and the parrot caught by the hunter has learnt his rude language. So even though they have the same mother, the parrots are different in behavior. Moral: a person develops his character influenced by his environs, not by his birth. The sour grapes. Once, a fox was wandering around in search of food. She came to the edge of the woodland where she lived. She saw that a vineyard was nearby. She went there and saw ripe, juicy grapes hanging there. The fox jumped up to reach them, but could not. She gathered courage and jumped again with her full strength, but still could not reach the grapes. Soon she started sweating and grew tired. She stopped and took a deep breath. Then she sighed and said, "Oh, why try so hard for such sour grapes? Let them be." With such thoughts, the fox went back to the woodland. Moral: one must accept defeat sportingly. The stag's antlers. Once, a stag felt thirsty. He went to a lake to drink water. As he bent his neck to drink water, he looked at his reflection in water. On seeing his long, handsome antler, the stag thought, "What beautiful antlers I have! These shining long antlers make me the most handsome of all in my herd." And then he looked at his feet. "Oh, such ugly legs I have! These legs are always dark and dirty. But anyway, I have my beautiful antlers to feel happy about." As the stag stood admiring his antlers' reflection, he did not notice that some hunters had spotted him. The bark of the hounds alerted the stag. The stag looked at the hunters. Then he ran off as fast as he could. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him. Soon he gained speed and left the hunters far behind. At a distance, the stag spotted some bushes and trees. He ran to the spot and hid behind the bushes. Soon the hunters and the hounds came near the spot. The hounds sniffed and knew that the stag was hiding there. As the stag wanted to run off again, his antlers caught in the low branches of a tree. The stag could not run. Soon the hunters shot down the stag. The legs the stag hated had saved him, but his beautiful antlers had made the stag lose his life. Moral: utility is important than beauty. The Thankless Wolf. Once a wolf had a bone stuck in his throat. He could neither swallow it nor spit it out. He knew if he did not get it out, then he would not be able to eat. Soon he would die of starvation. The wolf went to a crane and said, "Please help me. A bone has stuck in my throat. Your long spiny neck can get to reach it in my throat." The king crane agreed to get the bone out. As the wolf sat with his mouth wide open, the crane put his beak into it and pulled out the bone. Then the crane said, "I have got the bone out. Where is my reward you promised?" "I do not remember making any such promise." With these false words, the thankless wolf left the crane's house. Moral: wicked people are never thankful. The Thirsty Crow. On a hot summer afternoon, a crow was flying around in search of water. He was feeling very thirsty. He flew all over the forest, but got no water there. The heat was overbearing, and the streams and ponds of the forest had dried up. Then he crossed over into a nearby village. There he saw an old hut. An old earthen pot was lying in its courtyard. The crow flew down to investigate. Luckily, the pot had some water, but it was very little, and at the bottom of the pot. The crow had found this water after a long time. He was determined to drink and quench his thirst, but the beak of the crow could not reach the water, so he became sad. The crow grew thoughtful. He looked around to find a way to reach the water at the bottom of the pot. He saw some pebbles lying nearby. Seeing the pebbles, the crow had an idea. He picked up the pebbles in his beak one by one and dropped them into the pot. Gradually, the water level in the pot rose up to the rim of the pot. The crow drank the water to his full and flew away. Moral: determination achieves all. The two goats. Once, a white goat and a black goat were crossing a river from the opposite banks. They were on a narrow bridge across the river. Only one man or animal could walk on it at one time. As the two goats met at the middle, the black goat said, "Hey, why are you blocking my path? Go back and let me go on my way." The white goat grew angry and said, "How dare you order me? I'll not step back. Why don't you go back?" The two goats locked horns in anger. As they were fighting on the narrow bridge, they lost their balance and fell into the swift flowing river. Moral: anger creates problems, not solutions. The White Crow. One day, a crow was flying over a village. He came down and sat on a wall to look for food. Clouds had gathered in the sky, and suddenly a thunderclap sounded in the sky. This startled the crow. He slipped and fell off the wall. The wall surrounded the courtyard of a painter's house. The crow had fallen into a tub full of white. He struggled out with difficulty and flew to a nearby pond. As he sat there on the edge of the pond, he looked into the water. He saw a white crow in the water. He was taken aback. Then he realized it was his own reflection. The white lime had turned him white from beak to tail. The crow flew back to the jungle and to the tree where he lived. On the way, he thought of a plan. When he reached the jungle, he started cawing loudly. This attracted the other crows' attention. They all observed a bird white in color, but cawing just like them. There the white crow said, "Friends, I have a message from the jungle god. He has appointed me to be your king. From today onwards, you all must serve me and obey all my commands." The crows were surprised to see a white crow, so they believed all that the white crow said. Thus, the white crow became the king. He enjoyed it when the other crows bowed to him and obeyed his orders. Soon the white crow became full of pride. One day it rained very heavily. All the crows huddled in the thick leafy branches of a large banyan tree. The white crow was also among them, but the branches could not keep all the raindrops away. Some birds were getting wet. The white crow was also getting wet due to the rain. Suddenly, some crows started staring at the white crow in surprise. Some were looking shocked and others were looking angry. Actually, the raindrops had started washing off the white line from the white crow's body. Streaks of black color were showing, but the white crow was unaware of this. Soon, all the white line got washed away, and the white crow sat exposed as an ordinary black crow. All the crows got in anger and attacked the cheat. The pretender king had to flee the jungle to save his life. Moral: don't try to be what you are not. Treasure in the field. A farmer had 3 lazy sons. They never worked and always asked for money to spend. The farmer thought of teaching them a lesson. One day, he called his sons and said, "Sons, I am growing old now. I want to tell you a secret." The boys grew curious and excited. When the farmer had got their attention, he said, "I have a treasure hidden in my field. I have forgotten where it is. You must dig up the field to find it." The lazy but greedy sons got ready to do the work. Next morning, they got up early. By evening, they had dug up the whole field, but they found no treasure. In the evening, they went home and said, "Father, we are very tired. We dug up the whole field but found no treasure." The old farmer smiled and said, "It does not matter, sons. Now the field is dug up. Why don't you sow some corns in it?" The sons agreed, and soon they bought some corn seeds to sow in their field. A few weeks later, there were good rains. Soon the field was filled with golden corn cobs swaying in the breeze. Then the farmer said, "Sons, you must cut this lush crop and sell it in the market. Bring the money to me." The sons went to the field and cut the standing corns. They sold it in the market and earned 1,000 rupees. They took the money to their father. The old farmer saw the money and said, "Sons, this is the treasure I told you about. This treasure was in the soil of the field. Your hard work dug it out. If you work like this every year, you'll get this treasure all your life." The lazy sons understood what their father meant. From that day, they worked hard and earned their own money. Moral: fruits of labor are sweet. Once a young lamb felt very thirsty. He went to a stream to drink water. A thirsty and hungry evil wolf